Hi there, this is Wolfhound-Nine, and I'm going to start us off on the Carbine class for this series. I've also changed up the format a little bit. I'm going to now do a single weapon per episode instead of an entire weapon class. This is thanks to some advice from a friend, and I think it'll make the series a lot more enjoyable. That said, I'm going to start us off on the AK-5C. In the real world, it's the standard issue rifle for the Swedish Armed Forces. Though in Battlefield 4, it's going to be the third unlock in the Engineer class for you, and it's going to be the first carbine you actually get to use in the game. If you played the beta and you got to use this gun, you might remember that it was a bit of a laser in that. And to be honest, not a lot has changed. This gun is still incredibly accurate. It's got incredibly low, incredibly manageable recoil that you'll barely notice, and this is made even easier by the fact that its first shot modifier is quite low as well. It's really easy to tap or burst fire this weapon. And even though it only has a 30-round magazine, its blazing fast reload speeds will mean that you're consistently in the fight, putting rounds down range. Its 700 rounds per minute rate of fire also isn't that impressive, but with how accurate the weapon is, it doesn't really disappoint either. In fact, the only thing that's average about this weapon aside from its magazine size is its damage model. It'll do about 25 damage up close, and that drops off to 15 damage at around 50 meters. So if I haven't already made it clear, this weapon is amazing. It's a really great gun. It's probably one of the best all-around weapons in the game. I had flashbacks of Battlefield 3 using this gun. It reminds me a lot of the M16. Now, it's not as overpowered as that weapon was, but it has a lot of the same characteristics. What I mean by that is that it's useful at any range. You can win engagements close up, you can win engagements at medium range, and you can do perfectly well at long range. This gun is useful in nearly every circumstance. With that in mind, I would nominate it as one of the best workhorse weapons in the Carbine class, if not the entire game. If you haven't unlocked it, you should probably go try and do so as soon as you can. Try it out. You probably are going to like it. I can't imagine many people who wouldn't. It's just really easy to use. So once you've unlocked this weapon and have a few attachments for it, what do you actually stick on it? I found with attachments right now there are a few that are just extremely good that you use on nearly every weapon, but the AK-5C has significantly different characteristics than most weapons. In particular, the very low recoil makes the heavy barrel a perfectly good choice. Normally I don't like the heavy barrel personally because I find it makes weapons too kicky, but with the AK-5C you'll barely notice it. Now, normally I would also suggest using the angled foregrip, but with the AK-5C you have to consider that it has a very low first shot modifier, so you're going to have to pick whether or not that's worth your time. You might actually want to use the vertical foregrip because having a better hip fire accuracy on this weapon would make it a little better close up. That said, there's nothing wrong with sticking an angled foregrip along with a compensator or a muzzle brake on the weapon. You'll barely notice any recoil at all if you do that, and it'll be incredibly easy to manage. The only attachment I would avoid using is one of the suppressors. You need to remember that the suppressors significantly cut your muzzle velocity, and this makes it harder to engage targets at a range. That actually brings me to another topic, which is how do you use this weapon best? Now, I've already mentioned repeatedly that this is a great general use weapon. It's a great workhorse. It's something to bring along with you when you don't know what you're going into. It's not best in close quarters though. You can use it there and you'll frequently win a lot, but if you know that you're going to go into a close quarters environment primarily, for example Operation Locker, I would really suggest using a different weapon. There are some carbines that I'll cover later on that are really well suited to this task. That's about the only situation I can think of where it won't excel in. The only other advice I could give is to remember this weapon's strengths. It doesn't have a high damage or anything of the sorts, and its rounds per minute are fairly average. What you're relying on is its accuracy. You want to make sure that you're being careful to aim properly, and make sure that you're using proper tap or burst firing techniques. It's also worth remembering that carbines can be used by any class. This means you can adjust to situations and pick new kits as necessary without having to worry about adjusting to a new primary. So that's my breakdown of the AK-5C. Let me know in the comments below what you think of it. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Do you think it's overpowered? And if you found this video useful, maybe give it a like and a favorite, and cheers! Good luck in the battlefield.